How do you make money in Star Wars Galaxies, specifically on the NG server Star Wars Galaxies Legends? The answer is that there are as many ways to make money in Star Wars Galaxies as there are activities in the game, which makes a comprehensive guide on how to generate your fortune pretty much impossible. There are tips and tricks, and in the comments below there will be players who have specific strategies that have worked for them, so check those out. But the truth is, Star Wars Galaxies has always been a simulation, and the game's economy reflects the way economies work in the real world. There's supply and demand to consider, buying low and selling high, making connections with players who become loyal customers, and cornering the market when you excel at providing a specific product. Basically, I'm saying that given the game's broad scope, this guide can only ever be an overview of things to consider. The specific answers will be different for each one of us. That being said, it might be useful at the start here to look at some specific in-game activities that can make you money. You could craft items, you can gather resources, run through the game's many quests for the credit payout at the end of those, run terminal missions, space missions, asteroid mining, you can sell those minerals. You could be a dedicated merchant who does nothing but play the market, buying low and selling high. You could be a medic who buffs players for tips, or an entertainer who plays music and dances for similar benefits, like a busker in the real world. You could do things that aren't really a job until you make them jobs, like running heroics with friends for the high-level jewelry sets, and then package those and sell them on the bazaar. So there really are tons of things you can do. Getting more granular, there's subcategories within those things. So if you're going to craft, do you want to craft food or armor, starships or gaffy sticks? Will you gather hides from creatures or mine minerals? There are questions to ask in terms of quests, like which quests give the best payout? What heroics are best for loot? What repeatable content can you do? Treasure maps, for instance, on the ground, and pirate missions in space are good ones, since they offer good rewards that you can sell if you don't need them for yourself. Instead of doing quests, you could simply grind on Dathomir, killing Night Sisters for holocrons to sell. All of these things can and do work. Which to choose is determined primarily by what you enjoy doing. Nobody wants to spend hours crafting if they're in the game for space combat, for instance, and vice versa. So first ask yourself, what can you bear doing over and over and over again to generate an income? What's going to be your job that you don't hate? If you're a combat character, then you probably already know more than you think you do about how to make some money. You already know something that's very important, which is how to be effective in your current class, and that is valuable information. So you could find out what is involved in producing the various items that you use to be effective. What do armorsmiths need to create the specific armor that you're familiar with? Maybe you can acquire those resources for them, or maybe you can create an alt who makes that armor from scratch. You already know what constitutes a good or bad example of your favourite armour. Knowledge is key, and you may not realise you know as much as you do from playing that favourite character. For this reason, it can be difficult for new starters to make money beyond canned quest content, since you don't really know what you need or how to obtain it yet. You don't know your class. If this is you, then I suggest focusing on learning the game and your class first. Money comes later. Once you've reached level 90, you can easily level up without the need for gear that costs millions. So check out the guides on Star Wars Galaxies Legends forum and on this channel if you like, for helpful leveling tips. Once you're ready to start focusing on your cash flow though, it will be the knowledge and experience you gleaned leveling that informs how you proceed. Take my experience as an example. When I joined Star Wars Galaxies Legends, I didn't know what people wanted to buy or how to make the items that were added with the NGE specifically. I had to level 2 combat characters and dabble in various crafting professions before I really got a feel for the game, the economy, and what was and wasn't in demand. Speaking of demand, this is an important thing to think about before you decide to farm holocrons on Dathomir or cook Pyolian cake for crafters. You should go to the bazaar and do a galaxy-wide vendor search. See what's already there, what it's selling for, and crucially how many competitors you have. It will be very hard to sell your product if there are already 15 people providing that thing on the server, and in the case of crafting products, doing so at the very highest quality levels. You can still make inroads with clever marketing, like a Barker droid outside the starport in Mos Eisley, or simply beg friends to visit your vendor first before visiting others. But realistically, what you should be doing is identifying gaps in the market, just like in the real world. I know from my own experience with YouTube, if I do a video of the latest and greatest game, it won't reach anyone because I'm competing with the biggest YouTubers for those views. They're doing that game as well. But if I do guides about a niche game, like this one, I might get some views.
Hello there.
It's all about identifying a need and providing it. Knowing the game and the market are the most important things when making money in Star Wars Galaxies, and there's no shortcut to gaining the knowledge required. You've got to apply these broad principles. You've got to look at the bazaar, do your research, ask around on Discord, and crucially play the game for some time before you'll really learn what's hot and what's not. But because I've heard from many people about their struggle to make money in the game, I did want to give a few specific suggestions to help you on your way and get you started. Many players join the game for the combat and to RP Star Wars Adventurer, and when they realise high-end gear costs millions, that can be a shock. What many don't realise is that there's already something they can be doing in addition to the rewards they get from questing. Set up a vendor in your house and put the items you don't want on that. I say a vendor in your house because the bazaar, while good for information gathering, is sucky actually for selling things. There's an item limit and you can't charge more than something like $1 million. I'm not even specifically sure what the limits are because I don't use it to sell. I use my personal vendor. That is working as intended. Making the bazaar worse encourages players to shop around and it gives a chance for merchants to stand out. You have 5 character slots for Legends, and I would say at least one of them should be a crafter so you can put a merchant in your home to sell your items. More specifically, there are items in the game that you might think are junk, but they're actually not. Those random bits of looted clothing and armor with rubbish stats, those are in demand by reverse engineers. Put those on that vendor. Don't forget to do your research, price them competitively, but they can be money makers for combat characters. A tip for crafters, make sure you have extractors running 24/7, even if they're pulling in rubbish resources and you dislike the resource gathering minigame. Poor resources priced as low as 1 credit per unit, they are still useful for people who are grinding materials, and you can make money just through volume, just by having tons of grinding mats. Resource gatherers, those 5 character slots, they are your strongest advantage. Use them, have all your characters surveying at the same time, or create a basic follow macro when you're harvesting creatures, and buy creature harvesting droids and have all your characters following you so that when you kill a creature and harvest, you not only the one character harvests, they all harvest, and you kind of maximize the amount of resources you're pulling in. Here's one for pilots. Get knowledgeable about reverse engineering so you can identify high value looted components. Even if you don't intend to reverse engineer yourself, if you're able to identify a capacitor that has a good stat for a reverse engineer, they will buy it from your vendor. Be realistic, don't overcharge, but it will sell. Those are just a few specific examples of how, whatever class you play, there are opportunities to make money. Be creative, think outside the box, but most importantly of all, learn the game's economy and its systems. Get familiar with the game. People have tons of great ideas for making money, so I'm hoping the comment section is going to be packed full of those, so check down below. Make sure if you're thinking about it, well, you know, I made some cash doing that, let us know. People can use that information. We can all share this stuff and pool our resources. So thanks for watching, and may the credits be with you.
Hey, it's my dinner.
How you get so big that you food of this kind?